You guys, we are back for another episode of A Wild Ride, The Winds of Change with Brian and Amy. You guys,
Amy Ryan.
Amy and Brian, Brian and Amy, all the same, all one and the same.
Yes.
We have so far recorded a little bit of what this podcast is going to look like, a little bit about my background story, where we look back in order to go forward, and same with Brian's. And, we are going to get into like meeting and how things happened and really where we experience the hand of Abba, Father, in everything in our meeting and going forward. But you know what? Today we're going to kind of pass over that one because right now, as you can see, Brian and I are in two different places. And we've mentioned that a little bit. But it felt appropriate because as of next week, we're going to be side by side.
Yay.
Yay! Finally, we have spent a month apart since our wedding. And that in and of itself has been a challenge for both of us in different ways. And we thought maybe let's talk a little bit about that. Why that happened, which we don't always know the answers. We don't always know the whys, but we know some of the things that we're gaining from that and some of the big struggles in that. And so, to talk a little bit about that, first off, Brian and I were married in Florida on June 14th. And on July 14th, he'll come back the day before my birthday, which is amazing. And when we came to the realization that we were not going to be in the same place right after the wedding, it was kind of like it's okay, like it's okay, we're going to be all right, this is going to be fine. But I will tell you, when you this was like the revealing of the constructs we have, these mental constructs of what stories we tell ourselves when something is about to happen, and we then create an image, like when we're growing up or whatever, or societally, what something should look like. And then when life doesn't fit that image, how do we respond and what stories do we tell ourselves about that, which can lead us, so the mind chatter, the heart experience, because after we tell ourselves something, then emotions follow after that. Then what starts to happen inside of you? How do you respond? How does the heart navigate that? And then how you proceed and go forward, whether you get stuck, bitter, resentful, or willing to sit back, calm, and expand and grow and wait in expectancy. So, what do you have
So
to say about all that, my friend?
yeah, the crazy thing is we've had so many of those opportunities. I mean, from the get-go.
No kidding.
Originally, we planned just to Amy, myself, and Rachel, who was going to do the ceremony. That was it. And then we had people speaking into our lives saying, "No, we are going to come." It wasn't us asking them. So, the first time that happened is at a dinner table. First time I'd met these people, and I look at Amy like big deer in the headlight look, and she's looking at me the same way. And then, out in California, the same thing happened. We had people who love us wanted to be there. So that, changed the paradigm. And then,
And that was my first time meeting a lot of them.
yeah,
And I'm going,
exactly. And then, we're normally the bride and groom, don't see each other per se, and don't have a house full of people the day before their wedding, a couple days before their wedding, a few days after their wedding. Yet that's what happened. We were in an Airbnb and all of our guests were together except for a few. And that's what it was. It was really skewing the whole paradigm of what a traditional relationship, the steps you take. And each of those changes was an opportunity for us both to really say, wow, yeah, let's roll with this. Or wait a minute, this is not how I planned my wedding to look. This is not how, the first night together was supposed to look. Yeah, so it's been so many of those, and they really continue every day.
all the time. Yeah, I was just going to say. So, you bringing that up, Brian, is like in my mind is get from the get go, when our hearts connected And we are like, yep, there's something so much more here that really gave both of us an invitation to go, are we willing to let our life from this point forward be led by our Father, or to continue, which He would love us to pieces anyway, if we said, no, it needs to be more on what I want out of my earthly life. And so this is so raw because like I have to speak that when I say that out loud, it's the reminder of that yes that I gave. And then when moments hit where I protect my own heart and say, I want it my way. I need it to look and feel the way that I think it should. And don't get me wrong, it's not that there isn't incredible love. Like the gift of this, what Brian and I have, will supersede those moments of feelings of, no, I can't do this. I want it to look a different way. I need it to look this way. And, when I touched on that in some previous episodes, if you haven't seen those, go back, watch those. So, what we're really doing here is not to just expose all of our stuff. This is about a journey that we're all invited into, and it looks really different. We're talking about it like in the level of relationship, of marriage, that takes our ideas of what life ought to be and being willing, maybe coming to the place where we come to the end of ourselves so much to say, what do you want? And what are you doing? And then finally surrendering to that inner knowing that there is something He's taking you on that's different. And then so going back to what we were just talking about, all of those things that Brian said, like, gosh, babe, from the start, and engage, ideas. And I had so many mental constructs of what my life should look like without realizing them until you come face to face with them. This is what an engagement should look like. This is what you know, a ring should look like. This is what um, friendships and at the wedding and all of these things. And every single step of the way, it was the whisper, do you want to step into more? You've always wanted to step into more. And so your relationship with this man, it's very public. It's very open. It's, yes, it's the two of you, but it includes many. And are you willing
Mm,
to walk into that and see what I have for you? Or do you demand your own way and what this ought to look like?
that hit so hard because I'm, for the most part, a very private person. You check my social media and it doesn't really exist. Um, I've come and gone from Facebook many times. Um, and when you said this is public, I was like, wait a minute, what is she saying? It's, I mean, that's exactly it. What is community? What is family? What is love? What is the true ecclesia? Not to use a church word, but I think Abba's really redefining for us anyway, and for many others, it seems what that truly means and what his intentions are. And yeah, it all goes back to that yes. Um, and for me, I've shared it before, but I was okay on my journey. I was okay with deprivation, with, solitude, isolation, and stuff. But when I asked Amy into this, her yes, um, I didn't realize the extent that she would be going through. And that's really, and continues to this day to impact me. And, um, to see her go through those things, particularly when we're apart, is beautiful, but difficult. It's an honor to be on this journey with her. But that yes, that she gave was probably more difficult than my own. Just seeing that as you go through it.
Wow. I, hmm. Yeah, the public part, sharing us in the new stage of a relationship is feels really uncomfortable for me. Um, but the internal changes are where I'm very aware of what's shifting. You know, it's like I mentioned before that the desire to be with the Trinity alone for a long time, and to the point where I would be able to feel like I truly am good with being alone because I know I'm not alone. It's that longing for them. And I think there's been an honoring of that for me that's been really beautiful. That they know that my intent was not out of malice. I'm going to prove I can be on my own. It was more of a surrender of, I can't do this on my own. I need you guys, but I want to feel confident as your daughter. I want to feel like I know how to make the right decisions. I know how to hear you and handle finances. But there was still a lot of striving in that, like an expectation, not striving in a bad way, but based on what I know. This is all I know is how to do and to work, and feeling like I had to prove myself to God, going, okay, now go do that. But yes, you can have intimacy with us and that sort of thing. And there was something so much deeper happening that I still, in this time of like being alone this month, where I don't like it, and when I create ideas of what it should be, and I'm not in a place of awareness of my oneness with the triune God in me and their constant companionship, I step out and long for something like, why can't he be here? You. Um, why is his house like in a state that I can't be there? Overriding, why is that overriding our being together? Like creating an idea, well, God wouldn't want us apart. Well, that isn't like there that's creating a story. That's creating something in my head that I don't know is accurate. It's not that he doesn't want us together. It's this continual still nurturing my heart and yours, where there is a connection, a commitment, of, do we call it a vow? What do you call it? Whatever you want to call it. Yet continual growth in that I need alone time still with them. I need, um, there's many things that are going to change in my life. Yours too, but many, many, many things have been changing in rapid succession for me in the last few years that sometimes I need, like we talked before we hit record, that that silence for me to sit and feel and release, to step into the woman I was created to be, to let go of these false things. So when we talk about this being public, like I've done things that are public before, but in a way where I still needed to make sure that I seemed like I had my crap together.
Yeah.
And not that I thought I had my crap together. And I still think sometimes I can get my crap together. But it's the not straightening the hair, it's being you. It's just like going, ah, this is that I can walk with people without having answers, and be in that journey of being raw of it and going, wow, we don't even realize what we create and around ourselves to protect, and think, we, I don't know, like there's something to prove, or if you don't present yourself in a certain way, then you're going to be rejected. And that relationship with the Trinity becoming so much the essence that that is the core, that it's not really what matters anymore on what others are seeing or saying. If it's not for them, it's not for them, but that love remains. And I think this month has been an opportunity to just kind of sit with that at a whole nother level, to be able to look at things, release what's been around me, whether that's physically, financially, relationally, um, and more. Not saying that, oh, once we're together, then it's all better, but it was just something. It's like he knows each of us so well that he says, both of you have some things to rest in, to hear, to experience, to do as you move into something that's going to be visible, that is going to be very different than what you thought and what you experienced in your previous relationships. But it's allowing each of you to be who you were created to be, individually and entwined. That's my thought.
One thing when this became more than just, brother sister agape love, um, is there was an awareness that you had, there was a lot of desire on your part to prove yourself a strong, independent woman that could do these things. And you were doing them very well, in spite of what you think. And my um, penchant, my desire is to love, protect, honor, lift you up, insulate you from the bumps and bruises of life. Um, but, you know, I couldn't do that, or else it would smother this beautiful, strong, independent woman that you were very adamant about that you wanted to be, and that Abba Trinity also wanted you to be as well, independent in as such, that you have oneness with them and that they are your source for all things. So it's really been a journey to love, honor, cherish all the things while not squelching, diminishing your independence and who you are and your strength. And it's really a different nuance that we have. We've joked for so long that this is not a typical relationship, not a typical union, um, and it's beautiful. But as you were talking, I really feel, and it really just affirming what you said, that this time apart has been for that, for them really to uphold you and to support you in your independence and your strength, and also to reveal to us both things that they're still um, healing in both of us. It's been an interesting time. Has not been fun, has not been easy, and it seemed like it's dragged on for freaking ever.
It does.
Um, you know, it, it was surreal. The time that we first met over the holidays, December, a little bit of January. It was 3 weeks of just bliss, isolation. It's like we were in a little cocoon, even though we'd venture out and see people. And then, I flew back, drove back to Georgia. And then, we knew there was something there, and just events happened. And that time before the time that we saw each other in April flew by. It's like there was really no time apart. Just everything was, for me anyway, it was just like so every day was brand new. We would polo, we would, Zoom, we would do all the things and just so many actions. And then we were together for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, probably.
And again, it was just bliss and planning the wedding and people inviting themselves and everything just coming together. And then, went back to Georgia for a little while until our wedding.
That
But
went slow. That went fairly slow then, I felt like, that second time.
yeah, it was the anticipation, I think, and um, all the planning and different things. But, after the wedding and the few days we spent together, this time has drug. Um, it's just a perception thing, I think, but it has not been fun at all. Even these, um, they don't fulfill the need for physical touch and closeness and yeah,
Yeah,
all the things.
powerful observation, Brian, because and hmm, there is an element of moving into more unknowns, which I wonder if that's part of it, because um,
Yeah,
each step of the way, we knew that was like out there. We knew that there were unknowns, but we had something coming up that we did know next. We did know that there would be an engagement and a wedding planning, like after you left in January. We knew somehow, we didn't have it figured, but we knew we were moving in that, and that was together. Then we knew once that took place, then there needed to be planning, and then we had set the wedding, which wasn't that far out. And so, wow, okay, there's earthbound tasks, yet
yes,
spirit led direction and movement and trust. And if you look at it, Brian, actually, every step of that way was growing and expanding our ability to trust in Him. And you have had that clearly through your story, and we'll get into that the next episode more on, that time in between and then our meeting, and then how that really has shifted and grown and expanded your capacity for peace and rest. Me coming under that now as your spouse, like that is something that you get to impart to me in a sense of, and has been there, but even more. But I'm learning that. And there's things that you're learning from me too as our lives entwine. But that all of those things have been like more preparation. It's like he's not going to take, you're not going to head into some big duel or competition without some adequate training, right? You're not going to be thrown into the lions without having, you know what I mean? That
yeah,
that's not really a fair comparison because that's one's punishment, one's more like growth. But who would do that? Like, right? Who It'd be like
right,
you have things that you need to learn. And yes, you've experienced, like we've talked about, you have gone before so that my journey is abbreviated in terms of duration. And I learn a lot of things from you and just being in your presence. I have to just sit. I'm having one of those Selah moments. It's just like, oh my gosh, God is so good. And now we're stepping in when you arrive Monday. This is Friday. Yay. We don't really know what's next, but we know we're doing it together.
right,
And we're going to be together from that point on, as far as we know. And stepping in agreement that we are allowing the Spirit to guide us, the Holy Spirit in us, growing in our understanding of how she moves, lives and moves, and has her being in us as we let go of a lot of these things that block the understanding, any human tensions and striving and fear and all those things to go, all right, financially, professionally, um, geographically, everything. And that, like, I feel like it's like we came home to our respective homes, and it's like we're looking into the, not abyss, that's not really a good word, but it feels a little bit like that at times. Just going, all right, I don't even know. But I gave you my yes.
Yes. Y'all, we gave our yes, and we were anticipating not knowing per se yet. Abba, give us 6 months. Give us a 6 month plan, and we'll be.
Yes, please.
So we had a 6 month plan for about 2 days. Um, and it was we for me, I think Amy would agree. It's like, no, I'll show you the next step. You're gonna trust me. Um, so our next step is, 14 days in Costa Rica, and after that, we would love to go visit people, family and stuff across the country. Um, but we're open, and it's so funny. The cliche is the best laid plans of mice and men come to naught, or however it goes. But we thought we were listening, right? We thought, here's what it looks like. This will be great. And it didn't last 2 days. And it was just like, holy cow, okay, Abba, this is the way we're gonna play it. Let's go. But yeah, it's totally contradictory to what we both thought.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought we would have some kind of pre-planning to at least, like I said, 6 months. But not even that.
And I
It's
think,
been,
oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
And I think that's a big part of why we're doing these recordings too, is like you get to see live and what this
Filtered.
unfiltered, we get on for a few minutes before and go, what are we going to talk about? What direction? Holy Spirit, where are we going in this conversation? What does this life look like that I've said for years and I've known within I wanted, I craved, but I didn't. It's like counting the costs. What does that look like? And does this mean that this is a life for everyone? I think that it's an invitation for everyone. It's certainly not a requirement.
Right,
Um, and we know, so if it's an efforting to go, well, oh, I should do that, then I think it's going to be disastrous.
for sure.
And, so I have to check that when I have days of like, literally, y'all, yesterday I had a day I took all these things back, in terms of wanting to be my own God, realizing where something felt offensive and I guarded my heart versus allowing my Father, my Jesus, to be my source of strength, of rest, of peace, that fount of love, that continual flow. Where for me, I have to step back into breathing. I need to step back into meditation and exercise. I need to get things moving and realize, like, kind of go, what's happening? Why all of a sudden am I not trusting this process? And then giving myself all of the space to love myself in the midst of those times so I can actually grow rather than feel like I'm a failure. I can't do this. Um, going, I'm not 100% just, oh, once you make this decision, let's do it. That's just not where I am yet. And it's okay,
Absolutely.
you know?
You mentioned counting the costs, and that's something that, we've had a couple conversations about. But as we present our journey and our yes to others, is it prudent of us? Is it being a good um, image of Yeshua? Is it loving the people that we're speaking to, you know, make them aware? Hey, need to count the cost with Abba. You need to talk about it. He might not reveal what the cost will be, but there are costs, and costs. We'll probably get some comments. Oh, there is no cost and
Yeah.
all the things. Um, but I think there's something there.
Yeah.
And not that it's bad, but if you're surrendering completely to your loving Father, your life may not turn out the way that you intended. And as a result, there will be some cost to that preconceived notion of what you thought it was going to look like. So not necessarily monetarily, not necessarily deprivation, like, my journey has been, willingly and voluntarily for me. But, and I don't know that we have the answer, Amy, but
Oh gosh.
I wonder if, it's it's something to talk about as we're sharing that, you know, seek seek Abba's thoughts on the cost of saying yes or of not saying yes. You could have a wonderful life with a full church and a generic, safe lifestyle family, or you could say yes to the unknown and have this wild ride on the winds of change that we're experiencing.
Well, I think that's so good, Brian. And yeah, there can be pushback on the cost, but it's when we do know something in us. And like you said, the cost of saying yes or the cost of saying no. It's when we're opposed, the house divided that can't stand. So if there's something in you going, yes, the spirit says yes, and the soul says no, or the body says no, or both. And then when there's the tension, and we are still long enough, we put our phones down, we turn off broadcasts, we do things to listen for ourselves, then we know we're either resisting something or we're leaning into something. And then the peace comes. So there will be at a whole nother point an episode where I talk about that and a big decision that I made the day after our wedding because of that very thing that I had been opposing and ignoring for so long. And you know what? Once I said yes, so much more rest has come in my life because there's things that sometimes maybe it's in our subconscious, but it's real close to conscious, or maybe it's been in conscious and we push it down to ignore and want to say it's in our subconscious, but it's really just shoved in a box that we don't want to listen to. And so that kind of goes along with what Brian and I are talking about for this, something both of us, which is, in our opinion, a big part of why we came together. Because the Trinity
Absolutely.
did say, you're not going to head in this direction alone. I have someone for you to walk this out. So please do not take the idea of what you think a marriage should look like, because we're bringing you together for many reasons, not just one to make you comfortable or uncomfortable.
Right. I forget who I read it from, but there's a quote from a old revivalist or a theologian or someone who wrote something that I read, but the world has not seen what what can be accomplished for the kingdom, which, in our modern terms doesn't sit very well, but to a man or woman who is completely sold out to Abba. Um, and then Amy and I together, so the world has not seen what two people entwined together, united together in the Trinity, can be for the kingdom and the redemption of creation, all the things, if they're sold out together. So it's kind of where my head is at.
Mm.
Um,
And in the first two episodes, well, first three episodes, we shared a bit about our story, which, for some people might have very much been a turnoff on some of the paths we've taken, some of the different things. And those really are just some of them. That's where we started. But see, where we know in our knower that this has come together, that those don't need to be the stumbling blocks, but they can be for us. When we go back in our head and go back into our ideas of what this should be and looking at what it's not versus what it is, they will be stumbling blocks for us. And I'll guarantee there are moments that those rise up and will probably. And then it's almost like a workout where we come up against something and then get to decide, can I, am I going to allow this to strengthen what I do know and then turn that voice off and look at, gaze into the eyes of Yeshua, of our King, of Jesus, of our brother, our elder brother. that move us beyond that. And then so those things are part of why we're together. There's no doubt in my mind. And that literally for me, 20 years ago when infidelity was something in my life, 20 years I carried shackles of shame. Maybe not 20, maybe 19. And then when those shackles are completely free and gone, then those experiences become so powerful. And I
Definitely.
think those are going to be some of the things that we get to speak life into others through.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming along on another journey, another episode in the journey. We appreciate your time and you guys following along. Hopefully, this speaks to you. And if you have questions, obviously drop them in the comments. Um, yeah, but we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
And if you like, comment, share this with someone who needs to hear it. We really appreciate your joining in and being part of this wild ride.